better, in-person or remote learning? COVID-19 has changed the world. Let's face it, 2020 has been a tough year for all of us. Many schools have shut down and was forced to convert into remote learning. Because of the pandemic, did you know that the public education scores have plummeted as a result of remote learning? Today I will discuss why in-person learning has a better outcome than remote. The information I gathered for this speech comes from several websites. The Texas Education Agency, an article on COVID and education, lingering effects of unfinished learning, and the Texas Public School. While in-person learning is vital to students, overall, sources have shown that remote learning harms students and in-person has better outcome. Let's begin at looking at some problems remote learning has had. There is a such thing called unfinished learning caused by remote learning, which indicates that students across the country have suffered in academics. One example of a curriculum associates assessment was done on 6.1 million elementary schools across the country in the spring of 2020. As a result, it was mind-blowing. Students dropped 10 points on math and 9 points on the reading. Students fell behind compared to the years past. The setbacks are higher for the colored and low-income students. When school abruptly ended, the Black schools fell back 6 months in math and reading versus a majority of white schools only fell back 4 months in math and 3 months in reading. Students in low-income and urban schools lost more learning than their peers of high income in rural and suburb schools. As you understand these facts, the outcome of remote learning is not so good. Opening schools and allowing students to be in person gives them support and connection. They need to build socializing skills. In-person learning can also help students achieve stronger academics and receive instruction and further distractions and increase concentration. In-person learning is beneficial to students for mental health and having interaction with their peers. Although another benefit in inclusion is that it suits all styles of learning. Now that you understand the positive effects of in-person learning and how students thrive in a school environment, moving forward I will explain the remote learning, how it's hindered students. Imagine if the school went back to normal, when students were not worried about wearing masks or being close in contact. Better yet, not having students being taught through webcams. However, schools are doing that and by following the CDC guidelines. But Texas prioritized in-person teaching during these difficult years. The Texas Educator of Commerce, Mike, said, it's painfully clear that the pandemic had a very negative impact on learning. And with that as well, long-term impact on children in our state by not having in-person instruction. To prevent further decrease on academics, more inclusion teaching should take place. What can we do? One way to help students not fall behind is is to safely reopen schools for in-person learning across the country and return to 5 traditional days a week in-person teaching. Secondly, encourage students to return to a physical classroom and persuade the only 4% parents who are still on the fence about it. Lastly, school districts are making an effort to provide engaging and high-quality grade-level curriculums. In conclusion, while in-person learning is an essence to student overall, I have given many facts on how remote learning has a negative impact, and the best decision for a student is in-person learning. Online learning can present many challenges and different styles of learning. On the other hand, being in a classroom allows teachers to guide each student according to their unique abilities.